Are you thinking about booking your very first cruise? Well, going on a cruise can be one of the most relaxing and enjoyable vacations you can do, but a cruise can also be very confusing and stressful for first-time cruisers. Hi, I am Julie from julieventures.com, and in this video I am going to give my top tips and tricks for going on your very first cruise. I will cover everything you need to know from embarkation to debarkation and a few additional odds and ends, such as when to travel for your cruise. But first, please do me a big favor and like and subscribe to my channel. I am a travel planner and I make these videos to help my customers plan and prepare for their vacations. Okay, let's jump right in with the first tip, when to book the cruise. This one is fairly simple as the answer is as early as possible. The best time to book is as soon as reservations become available or around 18 to 24 months in advance. Do you have to book that far in advance? No. You can book a last-minute deal, but this is not normally recommended. Some of the most popular cruises on the best or newest ships tend to fill up quickly, and many cruise lines offer their best fares when itineraries first go on sale. Also, this gives you the ability to pay the cruise off over a period of time. Most cruise lines require the full payment to be made within 60 to 90 days of the cruise. A last-minute booking will require full payment at the time of booking. The earlier you book, the more likely you can get the type of room in your preferred location on the ship. If you have your heart set on a specific type of room, such as connecting rooms for the family or the newer infinite veranda rooms on Celebrity, it's best to book early. But I'm happy to help you book early or last minute. Just contact me using the contact information in the description below. Okay, tip number 2. When to travel to the port area. Most of my clients have to fly to the cruise port as they do not live within driving distance. One of the questions I get most often is, should I fly in the morning of the cruise? Since most cruise lines depart midday, this is doable, but I strongly recommend that you avoid flying in the morning of a cruise. Remember, this is a vacation, and we do not need stress. Flying in the morning of can generate extreme stress. Everything must go smoothly, or you could be at risk of missing your cruise completely. All it takes is a single delay to screw everything up. I have had people say, well, that's what travel insurance is for. True, but be careful. If it is a mechanical issue and not weather-related, the insurance may not cover it. Also, let's say the insurance gives you all your money back. You still missed your cruise and most likely ruined your vacation. I have also heard people say, if I miss it, I can fly to the first port of call and catch the cruise there. This is also true in most cases, but that is going to cost you. Odds are a flight to one of the cruise destinations is going to be much more expensive, and you still missed a day or two of your cruise. I generally recommend to my customers to fly in the night before. I also recommend scheduling a flight that leaves no later than 6 p.m. This gives you bandwidth to make additional arrangements if needed. Let's say your flight gets delayed, not a problem. If it gets canceled, odds are good that they can still get you on an alternate flight that evening. Worst case scenario, they get you on an early morning flight the next day. Sure, you can save money flying in on the day of the cruise. You avoid an additional hotel night and the flight prices might be cheaper, but don't do it. The risk is simply not worth it. Most cruise ports are in towns that are great to visit, such as Miami. Think of it as part of the cruise and enjoy the port town. Tip number 3. What to do on embarkation day. Several weeks before your cruise, you will be asked to check in online. The timing of this is different per cruise line. Some let you check in 45 days in advance, and others are much closer, such as 14 days before sailing. During check-in, you get to select your boarding time. My recommendation is to pick the earliest available. The cruise ports can get crazy, and the earlier you board, the less crowded things will be at first, such as the lines for food. One comment on selecting boarding times. Cruise lines do offer status to people that cruise often and are loyal to a specific brand. These people get first choice, and the earliest times might be full before you even check into the cruise. It is also important to know that the earlier you board, the less likely your room will be immediately available. Cruises have extremely short turnaround times, and the people on the cruise before you exited the ship only hours before you got on. While everyone is boarding, the room attendants are busy cleaning the rooms. So what do you do with your luggage? Well, you have options. I strongly recommend that you check your luggage with a porter. At a cruise port, porters collect bags at the pier and are typically tipped per bag. The tip amount is your choice. My family usually tips a few bucks per bag. Later in the day, the bags will be delivered to the hallway outside your room for you to collect. If you don't trust this process or want quicker access to your luggage, you can choose to bring your bags on board with you. Keep in mind that the rooms will not be available at first, so you will have to drag your bags around until the rooms are open. This could be several hours. I recommend against this approach as this is the busiest time on the ship. Remember, the rooms are closed, so everyone is out in the hallways, on the elevators, and getting something to eat. It can be crazy at first. We typically check our bags, but keep our backpacks or carry-ons with us during embarkation. Finally, if you or your kids plan on swimming early, pack the swimsuit in your carry-on, as your bags will not be delivered until later in the day. This next tip is really not a tip, but a question I get all the time. Do I need a passport? The answer is, it depends. If you are doing a closed-loop cruise that departs and returns to the same port in the U.S., and you are a U.S. citizen, then no, a passport is not required for most sailings. A birth certificate will suffice. If the cruise starts in the U.S. and ends in another country, or if you are departing from a foreign country, then you absolutely need a passport. Regardless, I strongly recommend using a passport. There are many reasons why a passport is the best option. For example, boarding and disembarking through customs with a passport is usually faster than other types of ID documents. Or if you have an issue while exploring a foreign port, such as missing the ship, it's best to have a passport with you. One final note on passports. The passport must be valid for up to 6 months after the end of the cruise. This is a safety measure, allowing you to travel freely in case of unexpected delays or situations where you need to extend your stay abroad, without having to worry about your passport expiring soon and required by many countries. All right, moving on to the next tip. Another question I hear and see all the time is, should I purchase the drink package? This is not an easy question to answer, as it is really dependent on the person or family. First, let's differentiate between the different types of drink packages. The first drink package to discuss is the soda package that generally ranges from $10 to $15 per day per person. Most ships provide coffee, tea, and water for free but charge for sodas. However, Disney is one cruise line that actually includes soda in the cruise fare. If a person drinks 3 or more sodas per day, I recommend purchasing the soda package. Some cruise lines offer a step up from the basic soda package, such as Royal Caribbean and their refreshment package. This package is a little more expensive, around $20 to $30 per day, and includes sodas, premium coffee and teas, bottled water, milkshakes, and non-alcoholic cocktails. For the price, this one is really a hit or miss for most. The questions I generally ask is, do you prefer premium coffees, such as espresso or cappuccinos, versus the free coffee, and how often will you drink it per day on top of the sodas? Also, do you plan on drinking non-alcoholic cocktails? A virgin pina colada can set you back $10 on its own. The last drink package, and the one that most people ask about, is the premium alcoholic drink packages, such as the bottomless bubbles on Carnival or deluxe beverage package on Royal Caribbean. These drink packages allow you to have everything mentioned in the 2 other drink packages, plus alcoholic drinks such as beer and cocktails. This package gives the cruise a more all-inclusive feel, as you don't have to worry about paying for drinks during the cruise. One thing to note is that some cruise lines, such as Carnival, set limits on the number of alcoholic drinks a person can get per day on the package. Carnival limits its guests to 15 per day. Keep in mind that this does not include sodas, water, or coffee, just the alcoholic beverages. So going back to the original question, should I purchase the drink package that includes alcohol? That is going to be up to the individual, as it really depends on how much you drink. Do the math and determine for yourself. In general, a beer is going to cost $6 to $10 per drink, and a cocktail is usually $12 to $20. Figure out how many of each you think you will drink and compare that to the daily price of the drink package. My recommendation is, if it is close, get the package. Keep in mind that it also includes all the other drinks in the 2 packages mentioned earlier. However, there is a catch. If you purchase the drink package, every adult in the cabin has to purchase the package too. Let's say you have 2 adults in the cabin, and the first adult will easily drink enough to get their money's worth from the package, but the second adult will only consume a drink or 2 per day. Then getting a drink package is simply not worth it. Again, do the math and make your own decision. Also, don't rush to purchase the drink packages right away. Most cruise lines offer deals throughout the year where they will discount the drink package. Black Friday is almost always a guarantee to find discounts, but that is not the only time. Keep an eye on your email or the cruise line website for discounts. You can purchase the package online right up until the day of the cruise. Don't wait until you are on the ship, as the packages go up at that time. Since we just discussed drinking, it is time to discuss eating. So this brings me to my next tip. The main dining room. Today, most cruise lines have a single main dining room, and eating there is included with your cruise. Before I go over my tip, I will say that not all cruise lines feature a main dining room. For example, the Disney Cruise Line features a rotating set of different dining rooms, and Virgin Voyages has several restaurants that are included. When you book your cruise on most cruise lines, you are asked to pick your dining time for dinner. Your options are early, late, or a newer option called My Time Dining or Anytime Dining. My tip is to select the Anytime Dining option. If you select early or late, then you have an assigned time for dinner every night. This can be much more restrictive, and it forces you to plan your evening around dinner. Also, cruise lines will often assign you with table mates from other cabins. Some customers prefer to dine alone, and this can be an issue or concern. With Anytime or My Time Dining, all you do is let them know via the app that you are ready to eat. Once a spot opens up, they will alert you via the app to go to the main dining room or MDR. Some ships even have a separate dining room for Anytime or My Time Dining. We were on the Carnival Celebration last year, and the Carnival restaurant was for Anytime Dining customers. I will add that most cruise lines also offer specialty dining options. These are additional restaurants on the ship that come with an upcharge. I am not going into all the details in this video, but know they are available, and you can often reserve them prior to your cruise or while on the ship. Some of them are really good and worth the additional cost. Now that we have discussed food and drinks, let's talk about the hardworking people that prepare and serve all this deliciousness to make your cruise experience grand. I have traveled the world and stayed at some of the most well-known hotels and resorts, but I will say that no one works harder than the service people on a cruise ship, and this leads to the next tip: tipping. When you book your cruise, you will be given the option to prepay gratuities up front. The amount is based on the number of days and the number of people in the cabin. It is also based on the type of room you booked. For example, the tip will be larger if you book a concierge suite versus an inside cabin. Gratuities collected are distributed to crew members, including dining, bar, and culinary services staff, stateroom attendants, hotel services teams, as well as others on board who work to enhance the overall cruise experience. You don't have to prepay the gratuities. However, if you do not prepay, then know that you will have a service gratuity automatically applied to your account for each day of the cruise. You can go to guest services if you have a specific reason to have this removed from your bill, but honestly, don't do it unless you have a very specific reason. As I stated before, the staff on these ships work extremely hard and very long days with minimal breaks. They deserve our tips. If you can't afford to tip, don't cruise. Also, if you purchase additional items before the cruise, such as the drink package or spa services, the cruise lines usually add an additional 20% fee for gratuities. This is basically a prepaid gratuity for the service. Even if you prepaid gratuities, you still have the option to tip a little extra when on the ship. If you have the drink package, you will still have the option to add an additional tip to the check when served a drink. I will often tip an extra $1 when I order drinks. For this reason, I usually bring several dollar bills with me, as I have found the service team appreciates cash over charging it to your room. Okay, moving on to the next topic. One of the great things about cruising is getting the opportunity to visit other countries. Cruise lines work directly with companies at each port of call to offer fun and exciting excursions for their customers, and this is my next tip. Excursions offer a variety of activities at each port, from relaxing beaches, snorkeling, tours of the city, and even swimming with pigs. Excursions are great, but you don't have to do them. One thing many first-time cruisers do not realize is that the port area at each stop generally has plenty to see and do without paying for an excursion. Most ports have their own shopping area that is generally blocked off for security reasons. This means you can walk around, shop, and eat without being hassled by the locals for the different excursions they offer. If you want to see some of the city, the ports are generally located extremely close to the touristy areas of the city, and you can generally walk to them on your own. Most of the time, the cruise line will offer up a map of recommended shopping places at each port. You can use this as a basic guide to get started. I will generally pull up Google Maps and plan out my walking path before we even get to port. One of the benefits of doing this is you can save money, as excursions can get pricey, but this also means your day is much more relaxing. Generally, excursions require you to line up early in the morning to exit the ship and can make your day feel rushed. If you don't do an excursion, then you can sleep in a little and skip all the lines. Skipping excursions also means you tend to get back to the ship earlier than most of the others, and this is one of the best times to explore the ship. This is also the best time to visit the Lido deck and relax by the pools. The pools are generally extremely crowded on sea days, but when the ship is in port, the crowd is gone. It is truly the most relaxing time on the ship. Don't get me wrong, excursions are great, and I am not saying don't do them. I am simply saying you don't have to do them to enjoy the port. Sadly, no matter how long of a cruise you booked, they come to an end at some point, and everyone has to get off the ship. This brings me to my final tip for this video: debarkation and returning home. First, let's talk about debarkation. It is important for the cruise lines to get you off the ship as quickly as possible, because there is already another group of cruisers waiting to board. For this reason, most ships start debarkation early, around 7 a.m. Most ships will give you two options similar to embarkation. You can let them take your luggage off the ship, or you can carry it yourself. If you choose to let them take your luggage off for you, the process is fairly simple. You will be asked to pack everything up the last night of the cruise and place the luggage outside of your room by a certain time that night. Obviously, this means you need some type of carry-on to carry the few items you need to keep in the room, such as toiletries. The staff will collect your luggage and store it overnight and take it off the ship the next morning. You will be given a specific time to debark the ship, and your luggage will be waiting for you at the docks. Unlike embarkation, where I recommend that you check your luggage with a porter, I usually keep my luggage with me during debarkation and carry it off myself. This gives me additional time to pack, and usually the guests that are carrying their own luggage actually get to exit the ship first. This is key if you have an early flight home. This brings me to my bonus tip. flying home on debarkation day. So what time should I schedule my return flight home? Well, if your cruise follows the standard practice of early morning debarkation, then it is important that you not schedule it too early. My general recommendation is try to schedule something around noon. This gives you ample time to debark the ship, travel to the airport, check in, and get through security. You can push it and book a flight a little earlier, but I don't recommend it. But what if the only options are flights late in the day, say 4 p.m. or later? You obviously don't want to sit in the airport for 8 hours, but you can't really walk around the town with all your luggage. Well, here is my bonus tip. You actually have a few options, and some are provided by the cruise line itself in the form of excursions. That's correct. You can actually book an excursion in the original port town after the cruise. Most of these excursions will actually store your luggage for you. However, this can get expensive as most excursions cost over $100 per person. When my family runs into this issue, we have found that booking a hotel near the airport to be the best option. Think about it, an excursion for a family of 4 generally costs over $400, but you can get a hotel room for $200 or less most of the time. I will notify the hotel that I will have an early arrival in hopes that they will have a room ready. If the room is not ready, you can still check your luggage and explore the city. It beats sitting in the airport for hours or doing an excursion that you are really not interested in. And that's a wrap on my essential tips and suggestions for first-time cruisers. Trust me, I have plenty more, but I wanted to keep this to the basics for this video, and I hope you found it helpful. If you are interested in booking a cruise in the future, I would love to help. You can fill out a form on my site, julieventures.com, or email me directly at jrupert@mainstreetadventures.com. Thanks.